So hello and welcome to Digital Music Discussions. This is episode 3 and today I'm joined with Peter Darling.
Hello, hi.
So Peter is a songwriter, composer,
Yes.
performer.
So
you also create digital music, you also create a lot of stock music, library music.
Yep.
So is that through your laptop or is that through your guitar or a bit of anything?
Sometimes through my laptop, sometimes through other people's computers. I work freelance with a company called WMP, who are based in Leeds in the United Kingdom, and they get me in if they need a songwriting. So I'll normally use all their nice bits of kit. So that's always looks fun.
Might as well.
Yeah.
It's always good fun going to a studio.
Yes.
So it's always nice. So what kind of genres of music do you write? Or is it anything?
It's basically, I try not to limit myself in what I can do. I know there are some things which I'm more comfortable with. So I started off on playing classical guitar and then kind of working within more folk and singer-songwriter. So if you ask me to write a song like that, I can do that pretty easy. But then also massive rock music fan as well. And then also I've been asked on occasions to write more electronic dance music and bits of R&B and occasionally hip hop as well. And so that's always entertaining, but you try your best to adapt your skills to certain genres and do the best and authentic representation of the genre that you can.
Yeah, so it was one of the songs that you co-wrote was on Radio 2 yesterday.
So I write and perform with a singer called Laura Oakes, who is a country singer. And we performed last week on the Bob Harris show on Radio 2, and one song that was played on there was called Glitter, which I co-wrote with her, which was a lot of fun to do.
We were talking about this earlier. The whole wordplay of rubbing a turd in glitter is basically the synopsis of the song.
So the way, if you haven't heard of Laura Oakes, check her out. She is the real deal. She's an incredible singer and songwriter. And she really enjoys playing with words when she writes with lyrics, which often as well is kind of indicative of the country music genre as well. A huge amount of it is trying to write the most clever and interesting lyrics as possible in terms of playing with words. So that for me was definitely, I had to adapt to that. My comfort zone of songwriting is often like trying to like paint pictures with my words, and try and take the listener more on a kind of a narrative journey. Whereas Laura's the opposite of that. She enjoys playing with words and trying to write something clever. So that was an interesting experience trying to adapt to that. But yeah, a lot of it was we basically just wanted to get poo jokes into the song, which went really, really well. And it's
was that just for you guys so you could have a bit of a laugh when you hear it, or did you want the listener to realise?
I think we wanted the listener to laugh. I feel like if you can create an emotional response in your listener, then you've got them. Especially if it's the one that you intended. So we wanted to make the listener laugh, and we also wanted to write a song which was actually quite stinging, but then had a really quite delicate and pretty arrangement. Because, for me, like I'm a massive Smiths fan, and I got obsessed with how Johnny Marr would create just these beautiful arrangements, really delicate and pretty, and then Morrissey would sometimes just say like really vicious things. And I've always really enjoyed that kind of juxtaposition. So that was one thing that I really wanted to do, and ultimately we just wanted to make the listener laugh, and also make them feel happy, whilst actually the lyrics themselves can be quite cutting.
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
Do you fancy playing a bit? You've got your guitar?
Yes.
You might as well.
Well, it's here. Yeah. So I'll play a bit of the chorus and you'll get an idea of, we were trying to play around with sayings and idioms that people know already, and just try and create a bit of humour out of them. So I don't normally sing this, obviously. So this is a better version. Is on iTunes and Spotify. It's called Glitter by Laura Oakes. So you can dress up any pig if you've got enough lipstick. Make it big with a double tap and click trick. Oh, you can roll yourself in glitter, but you cannot polish a terrible fake of a perfect existence. Got all the style, but not enough substance. Oh, when it all hits the fan and you can make it better, cover it in glitter. So that's the chorus. We wanted also to call it Glitter because Laura as an artist, her aesthetic a lot of the time is there's a lot of sparkly costumes and sequins and glitter, and it's all very bright and shiny. So I really wanted to write a song with her that kind of fed into what her persona is as an artist. So another song which I wrote with her and also Danny Cope was a song called Lazy. I wanted to write a song. When I was first came up with the idea, I thought I want to write a song that Laura really feels like she can connect with. So it has plays on words and is interesting and clever, but also she feels like it represents who she is as an artist as well. So she often gets referred to as lazy because she arrives late at things. But actually what it is she's just very laid back, and when she's required to do a job, so if she's singing, she will nail it every time. So I wanted to play on words with that. So there was a song, so the song called Lazy, so that goes, I'm not lazy, I do sedately well. Please don't blame me if you won't go my tempo. I'm not lazy, no, I just make it look easy. And a key part of country music is just that final tagline being something that's really satisfying. So when we finally came up with it, the idea of I'm not lazy, I just make it look easy, just felt really appropriate for the genre, and then also something that she would say as well. So a lot of the time when I'm co-writing, I'm trying to think, who's this person as an artist? What would they want to say, and how would that reflect who they are and their persona? Because I think that's really important this day and age. Is we artists now are sold on do their songs kind of tell us something about them?
Yeah.
So I feel like people like Lady Gaga and Rihanna and Beyonce are incredible at writing songs that reflect how the public feels about their personality, whether they're empowered or slightly off kilter, or there's something slightly messy about it. Like you get a feeling of, oh, that's the person singing it. That song is something true to them, even if they haven't written it. You know, I think it's really important to write, not just try and write a good song, but try and write a functional song, one that an artist can use that promotes them and kind of tells their overall story a little bit more.
Do you ever find it quite difficult to get your head into someone else's? You have to imagine you're a 21-year-old American girl, and you're just like, oh.
I mean, no, that's literally the story of my life in general. No, I do, definitely. When I'm writing library music, I worked on an album with WMP it was originally called Girl Swag, which was all about writing songs for independent, empowered women. and that was an interesting experience. So we get given a lot of like reference tracks, and they say we want songs kind of like this. There was a lot of things like Little Mix, Beyoncé, Anne Marie as well, early Anne Marie, and it is so much fun being able to. It feels almost a bit like acting. You get into the role, and you think, right, what is something that these people would want to say, and what's the message we want to put across. And a lot of the time, it's with that brief. It was a lot of both being empowered as a solo female, but then also the feeling of being together in a group and the security of that. So kind of wrote around those sort of things, and that's really interesting to get inside the head of.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Obviously, your music's very different to that. Your music, the albums I've heard of you, it's all about creating a story, all creating a narrative. Yeah. It doesn't really seem to be about you as well.
Yeah.
All your music just seems to be about imaginary people, or some instances, real people.
Yeah.
And writing around their story and their lives. I find your way of writing very different to the vast majority of people is writing about themselves or their feelings.
Well, what I'd say is, like, often I use those stories as an opportunity to kind of talk about myself in a way, but disguise it. So the Mary Lou EP that I wrote was I wanted to write about loads of different characters in a specific scene, but then I also wanted to write a bit more about grief, about faith, like trying to like get my own emotions and feelings and the stuff I was going through at that time out as well.
Through another character.
Yeah. And it's really freeing because you can say what you want and like say the stuff that feels the most vulnerable to you, and then you can say, well, it's just the character's feeling that way. Yeah. And in the same way with the library music, I will try and even if the character that I'm writing from is completely different from me, I'll try and tap into emotions that I felt previously. So like, for example, with the Girls Swag album, try and tap into those times where I felt like, yeah, I'm badass. You know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely. And deliberately try and tap into that, because then I have that emotion going on as I write. I find that really helpful. It's fun. I love trying to just challenge myself and write stuff not just for me. I find that really the pressure feels off in a way, because if I write stuff for me, I'm constantly thinking, well, would I perform this? What does it look like if I do it? Whereas when I write for Laura or anyone else, it's great, because all I have to think is, well, how do I feel like they would say that? And I don't have to worry about anything else. I just love it. It's great.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's great hearing your music and as like a story, as a narrative, rather than just not a lot of songs that I feel this way. I me. You're more creating. Well, what I perceive, you're more creating a story around these several characters, which makes it a lot more interesting to listen to as a listener. Because when you first listen to it, you just presume you're talking about yourself, then you realise, oh wait, that's another character. Hear it again. Oh wait, that's another character. Yeah. I guess is that what you want the listeners to feel like, to work it out slowly?
Yes.
It's like a murder mystery rather than a soap opera.
Yeah.
So you want them to think, who's the killer? It's the butler, really rather than thinking, whatever drama's happened on whatever soap opera is what's what I see it as. Anyway.
No, that's really cool. Like that's good, because I do think it's really important to leave breadcrumbs for your audience so that they can work stuff out for themselves. Because if they've done that, then they're invested in what you're doing. I feel like Taylor Swift is doing that really well with her latest album. I'm not a massive fan of the new album, but she has done so much stuff in her lyrics and in her music videos that refer to other things that have happened in her life and been in previous videos and have been in her image in the past. And so what happens is all her listeners, her audience go, oh, that was a reference to that when that happened. And that was this. And immediately you've got your audience. You know what I mean? And I think that's really important. With the Mary Lou EP, I wanted people to be able to kind of gradually work stuff out and think about the characters in that way. And so a lot of that is trying to leave clues. And I think that's because I think about the shows that I like that I like to watch, or the films that I like. I love those little details that people put in. And then you go back and you rewatch and you're like, oh, of course, because he did that, and why did she did this? And I think why not put that into music as well?
Yeah, I remember we did a video recently about your song Kate.
Oh yeah.
And I just presumed the first time I heard that was a love song about a previous partner called Kate.
Yeah.
But no, it was about Kate Bush.
Yeah. So it was about when I used to walk to church with my dad. And on the way past, there was this really big house on the corner, and my dad said it was Kate Bush who lived there. So for me, it was always really interesting, this kind of personless house where I was like, oh, so does Kate Bush still live in there? Or, you know, when you're a kid. And then I also wanted to, I just found it really interesting to write it to her, because immediately you're doing something within a song that you wouldn't do in real life. And I think often songs are a good way of kind of like playing out scenarios that haven't happened. Do you know what I mean? So I thought the best way to talk about that song is to address it to Kate Bush, and then also use it to discuss my relationship with my dad and how that's changed over the years. Because now I don't live at home, and I don't see my dad as often as I want to, but there's always going to be that feeling of I'm his son and he's my dad, and there's that closeness in there. And it comes down to creating narratives to discuss how you feel, I think. And I'd argue that a lot of songs that come out are actually telling a narrative, but it's only like one part of the narrative. So the narrative might be, I'm going to the club, and it's a club tune, and and I've gone to the club, and I'm really happy about being at the club, and I'm drinking lots, and then I'm gonna have premarital sex with someone. Like that is one narrative. And then for other people, it might be. So I feel like Kendrick Lamar is an amazing lyricist. On his last album, on Damn, he takes different different concepts and then tries to write around them. So the track Humble is a really interesting one, and he discusses the concept of humility, and then also he has a song about pride, and I feel like he creates a narrative that's based around an emotion or a kind of a fault or a frailty, and he's someone who does that incredibly well. I think that it's important to realise that every single song has a narrative, but it might only be a certain cross-section of that narrative. We like that club tune, we don't hear about the night after or whether their relationship continues, but it's about one particular, it's like a little vignette, a little snapshot into someone's life. And when you think about that when you're writing, that means that can help structure what you want to say and how you want to say it as well.
So have you got any tips for anyone watching at home who wants to kind of create stories with their lyrics, or want to expand the genres that they're writing?
Yeah, I would say read a lot.
Like fiction or non-fiction, or?
I would say I think both. There are a lot of non-fiction writers who also create narrative through what they're doing. So there's a great writer called John Ronson, who writes a lot about real life concepts, but creates a narrative out of the experiences that he's had. And I would say as well, yeah, just fiction writing is really important. I love a writer called Ian McEwan, who I talked about in the previous, but he in the previous session that we did, because his book Atonement has a moment where one instant is told from 3 different people's point of view, and that inspired me to write the Mary Lou EP from different perspectives.
Maybe stuff like Game of Thrones, it's written from several different perspectives.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say just a huge amount of it has been, I've just listened to lots of music, I've read a lot, I've watched lots of TV, and while I've been doing it, I've been analysing it. Even if I haven't been thinking about it, but I try and consider, right, what's this character feeling? What are their motivations behind what they've done? And I think that's really important to the more invested you are within a narrative, it's always because of character development. It's not because of plot. I get really wound up by shows where the lead character is not likable at all, not relatable, does irrational things. I don't like them. And the problem they have is then I often feel like scripts, they will then try and force plot on a character in order to make them more likable. Whereas I feel like some of my favourite TV shows have been where the characters have been so richly constructed and that you can't help but relate to them. And then when something happens to them, you're that much more invested. Now, I feel really passionate about trying to apply that to songwriting. So I teach at Leeds College of Music, and I tell a lot of my songwriters, your chorus is your opportunity to write your plot. That's your big moment where you can say what the point of the song is. But your verses are your opportunity to make the listener care about what happens in the chorus. So if you're writing a love song, your chorus may be more, I just think you're really great, I love you so much. But you haven't given the listener an opportunity. If you just write something really as vague as that in your verses, you haven't justified this love to your listener. So in the verses, I always recommend bring the detail in there. Talk about what do you love about them? Is it their hair? Is it their laugh? Is it the way they butter bread? Do you know what I mean? Those little it's those little things, because those are the little things. That's what happens in life. It's the little things that we love about other people. So bring that into your songs. And just try and really think about character development, and making sure that you're giving the listener a reason to care about the characters in your song, care about your song, because otherwise they're not going to relate to it. They're just going to switch off.
Let's have one more question. Let's relate this to digital music.
Yes,
because this is digital music discussions.
Oh, that would be appropriate.
Yeah. What is your process for recording? So say you come up with an idea or you've been given a brief.
Yeah.
How will you put that into the computer and how will you record it?
So sometimes I'll just do voice memos on my phone, and then
just lyrics or
with
singing.
Okay. And then that might be my first thing, and then I use Logic, and then I'll most probably. If I'm honest, it depends on the genre. So if it's an acoustic singer-songwriter style song, I'll normally start with my guitar and singing, and then I'll probably form the song pretty much before I start demoing it.
Just jam it out until you come up with some ideas, or do you have kind of ghost lyrics or?
No, I will try and write the harmony, the melody, and the lyrics before I start recording. So I've got somewhere to go, and then I will record a guide track and then start arranging around it and then re-record vocals and things like that. If I'm writing for, just say it's more electronic music, I will normally start in Logic and I'll try and come up with a beat first. So I use a lot of the contact stuff. So I'll use Battery. Yeah. I'll get a beat going for that. Try and get the right tempo. And start that way. And then come up with an instrumental first and then top line over the top of it. So it depends on the genre that I'm working within. I often find like getting a good beat and getting the rhythm that I want, tempo that I want is really useful, because then that helps to instruct. It helps to instruct what I want to do with the melody, because I want to I might want to play against what the beat's doing. So, for example, if I've just got like a 4 to the floor, I don't want to be writing a melody which is like all on the beat, da 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 all the time. I want to try and introduce some like syncopation, so like so getting the beat first is really useful, because then I can work out what I want to do with the melody. That makes sense.
Yeah. Of course, it depends on the genre. It depends what the song's for.
Absolutely.
It might even depend on what mood you're in as well.
Yes, it definitely does. When I come to write library music, like my mood it's
ignore all
secondary.
Emotions.
Yeah. I have to just shut off how I'm feeling that day. I've got to write something that fits the brief that I've been given, which actually is great. I really appreciate it, because songwriting can be such a personal and emotional thing. It's really nice to be able to just go in and almost treat it like a maths problem and just go, right, by the end of today, I need to have a song, and it's got to be in this genre, and it's got to say this within its lyrics. How do I get to that point? And think of it in more of almost more scientific way. And that's as satisfying as when I'm writing songs for myself.
Yeah, it's really interesting, yeah. So thank you for joining me with Digital Music Discussions.
No, thank you. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
This is Peter Darling, by the way. And yeah, check out his music online.
Thanks.
Definitely would.
Yes, do. Check out Laura Oakes as well.
Laura Oakes, yeah. Cool, so thank you for joining me. Hope you found this useful. Got comments, questions, feedback, put them below. And yeah, talk to you next time.